2. Hi, this is Paul Casey, the Kempo Karate Hall of Fame, where we talk about Kempo related subjects, and occasionally we are very blessed to have special guests. Having our second interview with the legendary Mike Stone. If you get a chance, watch our part 1 on the Warriors, the mindset of a champion. Mr. Stone is the standard. He was the first. He was the pioneer. He was innovative with his approach to the martial arts and competition training, his filmography, and more importantly that, how he helps people in everyday life to be champions in their own world. Today, I'm excited to say, hello, Mike. It's good to have you here. How you doing?
Very good, Paul. Thank you so much for having me back.
You're always welcome, sir. You're a blessing. And as I said to you before, the people that watched the previous interview with you were just, is there more? It was more. It went so fast for them, even though you and I think we talked for nearly 2 hours, and I edited it down to an hour and a half. So I'm very excited. I suggest, first of all, for anybody viewing, if you have a chance, go and visit Mr. Stone's website, and you'll get a little more information. You can probably reach out, ask some questions. If there's product, material, information generally, they can go there and look at it. Mike, why don't you tell us that website so that we'll be able to have people visit it?
Yeah, I think it's just www.mikestonekarate.com.
Just wanted to make sure we had that, and it's important. You're such, what you offer is so informative, so beneficial, and important in one's life. We discussed about the power of now last time in the mindset, and it was rather in depth, though we were scratching it. It was, boy, there's so much there. I hope that now the viewers and the young martial artists that will be watching this year, 5 years, 10, 15 years from now will say, gosh, I would love to know more about that. So let's talk about your life as a martial artist, the fact that you began your journey when you were in the Army, and then later on into competition, which later resulted in things of great championships, being recognized for your talent, but also you as an author. You have written books. Today we're going to reference one of the most coveted books. By the way, if you can find this, folks, this goes for about $200 on Amazon. I'm not kidding you. This book right here, and I think it's important. You know, the beauty of it is that it lays it out, and it's very direct. The first thing out of the book, in chapter 1, Mr. Stone talks about what we talk about, the mind, the mind. And then he talks through the mind and what those things are. So, Mike, why don't you tell us about the book? How did that book get created? What was the inspiration for it? And what was your goal?
Well, that particular book was written, obviously, a long time ago. When I first started competing, the first thing I was struck within the first year of competing was the perception everybody had about what I was accomplishing, that many of them felt that my success, my continued success, my consistent success was attributed primarily to my physical skills and talents, my ability as an athlete. And that is true. I mean, to a degree, it is very true. But the thing that was not obvious at that time was a mindset I had already created from an early time in my life. About 11 years old, was at the point of my mother's death. But from that point, a lot of things started to change for me dramatically and very rapidly. So I created a mindset that I didn't like losing. I was very competitive. But the way I went about it was what you talked about earlier, and that is the idea about the power of now, the present moment in which we live. So I think if you made a comment just a few minutes ago, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I hope already people will have understood this idea about the power of now. And the power of now really is, I'll say it briefly, but again, if the people I'm speaking with keep really an open mind, then I think they can benefit tremendously from it instantaneously. I mean, as fast as possible, which is the moment we're in. So basically, it goes like this. We exist in the present moment. This is where we are physically. So by that law alone, since we exist in the present time and we exist now, that is really the only time, or actually it's not so much time as it is a place that we can die. So we can only die right now, regardless of the time zone we live in. So that's the truth. That's the reality. Our present existence, wherever we are, is and must be the most important place we should be, is where we exist. So if we can only die now, then if you think about it and stretch it, then you go, well, obviously that's the only place I can actually live now. And I mean live, truly live. So in the moment you exist, where you are now physically, is the most important place you can be. So whether you're doing it training in the dojo, you're practicing, you're working on techniques, you do meditation, you're actually fighting in an arena, you're actually competing in kata, where you are physically is the most important place you can be. So in order for you to be the best you can, not so much better than your opponent, or not, your mindset should never be against someone. So I never saw people that I competed with as opponents or enemies or obstacles. They were simply put there, were there for whatever reason, to simply allow me in that moment that I existed to be the very best I could be. So they really had nothing to do with it, in a sense, that their presence wasn't an obstacle. Their abilities, their techniques, their skills, their speed, their power, their size, their experience, their technique, the system they took, none of these things were really important to me. It did not matter. What mattered was they were giving me an opportunity to be my best. So it didn't, all the other physical things that I realized my peers at the time I was competing with, they were always concerned about the physical nature of who they were and what they were going to do, because doing is a physical idea. Being is a state of mind. It's non-physical energy. So I was being an idea of myself where they were trying to do the best they could. So when you come from a point, a state of mind of being, you're in a much more powerful position than you are by relying on your physical body to get you through a situation like fighting. So I never viewed anybody I was competing against, and I don't like that phrase, because I never competed against anybody. I was always there simply to do my best in the moment I existed. So time-wise, again, you're bringing everything into the present time. Now, you can use this analogy for everything. So again, if you're talking about training today, then in the moment you're training, no matter what the techniques you're learning, no matter the physical execution, the technique, those things do not truly matter. Now, I know I will probably get a lot of repercussions from stylists and people that are worried about their system, their technique, their preference, and all of these things. These are really actually not important at all. If you're spending time on that, you're wasting your life. That's not important.
Would you consider what we've done? Most people put obstacles in front of us, which hinder our ability to live in the moment or be in the moment.
Yeah, but we can actually take a step back from that. People don't put obstacles in front of them. They are the obstacle.
Okay, so they've created that though. I mean, am I all right?
Yes, of course. Yeah, you're here for one reason. You're here on this earth for one reason only, and that is to experience your choices.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you're here to do. So whatever you choose, you're here to experience your choices. And from those choices that you experience, you can deduce, deduct, figure out, plan. You can figure out who you are, and from there, create the life that you prefer.
One of the things that you do distinguish in your book, this book that we're addressing in chapter 1, The Mind, you make a distinction between the mind and the brain. The mind and the brain. And I think
Yes.
a big response from that, I'm going to take a quote from your book. Here it says, but the mind, not being a physical part of the body, is not limited to the physical body. It has no limitations other than those we place on it.
Absolutely. It's still true today. That's
And
a
I
very
think
important.
I'm sorry.
That's a very important observation you made. And again, as simple as it may sound to just read it and analyze it mentally and go like, well, that makes sense. That's easy to understand. I understand the words he is using. I understand the definition of the words he's using. I understand the concept, but all of that also is not important. The important thing is, can you apply them now in the present time you exist to get the results and preferences you want, whether they're physical or not? The mind is not a physical idea. Your brain is.
You
But your
bring
mind
out,
can be
I'm sorry.
extended. Yeah, your mind can be extended. Time and space is not an object to your mind. I can transport myself at any moment I want through imagination and visualization. So I'm not limited physically. Your brain obviously is, because it's housed in your skull. So it can't go anywhere. If you take it out and play with it, you might have some difficulty with doing other things. So
I would think so.
yeah, so it's, again, some of the obvious things that we would laugh at. People create belief systems, understandings about who they are. And I have to make this distinction. We all chose to live in the physical world, this world called relativity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not relative to who we are, it's actually relative to who we are not that defines us. And yet that idea is not a normal way of thinking. So with the idea that we perceive, look at ourselves in every way that we live our lives, it's primarily 90% physical. We perceive of ourselves as physical beings. So everything we do, because we are in the relative world of physicality, everything we do, our experiences have to do with doing. And yet, the quality of your doing has nothing to do with your physical body. But that is the tool that you need to use to express yourself physically. But it is your mentality, your spirituality that creates the quality of what you do physically. So there is a vast difference between being and doing. Doing is simply the physical body's expression of what you are doing. But your doing quality has to do with your state of mind, which means with how you are being at the moment you are doing. So in teaching, in learning, where we fall short, I would say sometimes, as teachers and students, is the teacher is teaching the student how to do, not how to be.
Big
And
difference.
when you do that, you reconfirm their reality that I'm here to perform and to execute techniques. No, that's not what you're there to do. You're there to do what you're being. So your being is the state of mind you're in while you are doing. This
I
is
think
the
you
most-
approach that. You approach that
I'm
well in the
sorry?
book because if we continue through your thought process just in chapter 1, the mind, you lay it out in a format of saying factors like desire, inspiration, imagination, and then specialized knowledge. You want to address some of those ideas?
Yes, again, those are, thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity, because what I'm about to say and what I've been believing and thinking and doing my whole life is what people are still stuck with. I look at martial arts, you ask about what do I perceive the future of it and what we've done before, and we are no better off than we were before. I think in many situations, we're worse off than we were before. And we can talk about that later. But this whole idea about being and doing is that we're running around in our lives trying to find out who we are.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge in life, when we minimize it and limit it to the idea that I'm a physical being and that I'm only concerned about my ability to do things. So whether I'm doing my job, I'm a carpenter, a mason, a plumber, a karate teacher, I'm doing techniques. I mean, we do not give ourselves enough credit, enough love, enough appreciation, enough gratitude for who we are. Who we are is not in what you're doing or choosing to do while you live. That's simply your physical choice of expressing. But who you are, regardless of what you choose to do, is your state of being. And that you can apply in everything that you do. And when you do that, the quality of everything is effortless. It's natural. You will create abundance in all of its forms when you live your life in the present moment that way.
Is it something that we are taught is why we rather do than be?
Absolutely. But another idea with that is that you have to remember you chose to be here in the physical world. But yes, the thing that you were taught, the first thing and the most prevalent thing, is you were taught how to be afraid. Fear was the very first lesson you learned in life. And you learned it at a time in life where it became a habitual way of thinking, expressing, feeling. And even now, I have clients at 60 and 70 years old that are still fearful of ideas they created when they were 4 and 5 years old. They have never lost those basic fears.
We had discussed that at length in our first interview. So
Yes, we did.
Yes, and so sir, how does the martial artist, well, we obviously, let's take it in a simplistic scenario. A young man comes into your school and says, sir, I've been beaten up a lot at school. I'm very insecure. I don't want to get hurt anymore. How do I overcome that? And any other school would probably say, come in here, give us X amount of dollars a month. We'll teach you how to block, punch, and kick. You'll learn to do that, and that'll make you a better person. You'll be strong, and you won't have to worry about that. I think you address that well in chapter 6 of this book, but we'll get to that later. But it deals with fear. That is paramount as a lesson. This person now is maybe anywhere from the ages of 10 to 40 years old. So he has a track record of having this experience of fear. How do we, as martial artists, as either for ourselves or as instructors, help that individual or ourselves to overcome that and alleviate that problem, which is the big root of our of the conflict for us, fear?
Well, if you go to any martial arts school, because of either they believe it or that's a selling point, is that we're going to give them self-confidence, right? So we're going to change the way they think, and that will hopefully eliminate some of the fear. But the greatest eliminator of fear is to know thyself, is to find out, who am I really? Now, these things that you learned, of course, they are habitual. After a while, you weave a cable of consistency and habituality that allows this idea to be prevalent throughout your entire life. So the fear that you've created at a young age, this will stay with you. You have to change that fear. Now, again, if you go to karate school, they say, well, if you keep training how to kick and punch and do these techniques and work hard and suffer and sacrifice, then you'll get enough confidence that someday you'll be able to protect yourself, and now the fear will be gone. That is absolutely bullshit. That is not the truth. That you have not changed the person. To give them a little bit of self-confidence, you may have given them a lot of overconfidence.
Or false confidence. Or false confidence.
Yes, yeah. That they think they're a lot better than they really are. And many of who have attained a certain level of proficiency always question if we're being given a black belt rank by someone that says that's who we are. And yet when we get it, we think I'm really not, I don't deserve it. And many of us think like that, or have. I see many people, they still behave like that, no matter what rank they have. So they haven't gotten rid of their basic fears. And fear only can be eliminated when you truly are honest with yourself and know who you are. And the knowing of you is not going to be found in your size, your strength, your experience, your technique. It's not going to be found in anything you do physically. So you have to go back to the source of what is creating my reality, what is creating the fear. A fear is obviously a false idea many times. It's something that if you confront fear, it's not your enemy, it's your friend. When you realize it's only a facet of myself, fear, that I was unwilling to look at. And this is what I am confronted with. An idea of myself I was not willing to take a look at seriously. And that is what fear is. Once you confront that fear, it's like an exaggerated, overinflated balloon. It's easier to burst. Why? Because it's nothing but hot air.
Interesting. I had a conversation with Dave Hevler, and he remembers sparring with you in Pasadena. And he had no fear until he had to spar with you. He said you came at him with a hook kick. He said, I don't know where he came up with that idea, but it was thunder coming down on top of me. And Dave is a wonderful man. I know him very, very well.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of fans of yours that we all look up to, and they all look towards you. And I'm grateful that you're sharing this. I think one of the things that what you're sharing with us right now is that you're sharing an insight of the mindset of what you've created and how you address it and focus it. And it is a positive message, and it has a productive response from it because you're being, as you said, not doing. And I think in chapter 1, which I'm going to go to, we talked about this once before, and you're writing some poems. And by the way, if anybody's out there to read these books, please pick them up. They're wonderful. They have just a great insight into the talent of this man. Anyway, one of them, the factors in chapter 1, was inspiration. Inspiration. And the way you approach it, you said, in high school, I had the pleasure and good fortune to meet a man who has been and will be, as long as I live, an inspiration to me, Jimmy. And I have to say, why don't you share us something? How did he inspire you, and how that lesson made you who you are, so that it will maybe hopefully impact us that are listening to you right now?
Thank you for the opportunity to share this idea. Well, before this time, I was a junior in high school when I actually got to meet Jimmy, and he was an assistant football coach. So prior to that time, or even up until that time, growing up from the time I was born to that time, the commonly shared belief about me was what we had talked about before we went on the air, and that was that athletes are jocks and that they're not allowed to be smart or intelligent. Now, at that time, 70 years ago, when I was young, that was the prevailing idea. So athletes were athletes and nerds were nerds, and they were always separate. You could not have an athlete that had half of a brain. That didn't work. So the idea that we were not allowed to be smart, and that my whole life has been, every time I did something physical, I would be praised and recognized and awarded for that physical gift. But they would always counter that by saying, Mike is a great athlete, but he's not very bright. So I was not allowed to be a smart athlete. I could be given credit and awards and recognition and trophies and whatever for being an athlete, but apparently you're not supposed to be smart. You shouldn't have a brain. So for all my life up until that point, that's the belief system that I have experienced. And I started to believe it myself because that was the reality everyone around me shared with me. Their perception of me was that I wasn't bright. So I started to act more stupid. I was not allowed to be smart. And the more recognition I got for being a better athlete, the better athlete I became. So I became much better as an athlete and not so smart as a student. But with Jimmy, it was something quite different. He apparently saw something in me, not so much my physical ability. He saw my spirit, my courage, my drive, my persistence, my determination, never quit, never give up. He saw this aspect of me. And only with that did he approach me at one point, my junior summer, and said, listen, football season's coming up next year. I want to prepare you the summer before, which was my junior summer to my senior year, before spring practice. So he offered to help me come up to the high school because I was a boarder, and I decided to stay at the boarding school to work my junior summer. And he came up and spent 2 months with me nearly every day to teach me how to run, kick, pass, punt, block, everything, tackle. And by the time our spring practice started, I was ready to play 60 minutes of football both ways, offense and defense. So he selected me as one of the co-captains to the team, along with our quarterback. But that belief he had in me that I never had in myself, and his ability to never waver from his belief in me, regardless of how poorly I may have performed, that his trust and faith in my ability gave me the trust and faith in my ability that gave me this mindset. So I owe till today everything to Jimmy, for sure.
It's interesting. I'm going to guess that he also encouraged you to seek out other sources of information to make yourself a much more broader, well-educated athlete, and more importantly, human being.
Yes, but those examples are in every human being I meet. Now, I may meet some people as an example that I always tell people what I believe is my truth, that I learn from everybody. And this is the truth, regardless of the age, sex, ability, skill, education, money, I learn from everybody. Now, some of the things I do learn, I don't appreciate. That means I would rather not have learned, but I appreciate that they taught me these lessons. And these are not positive things. So even when I have negative experiences, I look at it as I have learned something. One time someone always asked me, I said to one person, and I said it somewhat sarcastically. I said, well, I appreciate learning from you. And the remark was, well, what the hell did you learn from me? I said, how I would never like to be.
Ah, interesting. You know, it's funny
I
because
don't ever want to be like you. So that's what I've learned from you.
I will tell you, I have two quotes here for you. One by Mike Stone and one by a friend of yours. So I'm going to start from your friend. Okay.
Okay.
He says, to understand your fear is to be the beginning of really seeing. To understand your fear is the beginning of really seeing. Bruce Lee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he said. Mike Stone says, talk to people who know the sport well or associate with caliber of fighters for championship quality. Read books and magazines that have articles on sparring. Go to the tournaments, watch, learn, as well as get in all the fighting experiences you can. Expose yourself to every aspect of tournament competition. Get on ideas on how to work out properly, then improve on them. Take the techniques you have selected and perfect timing and judgment of proper distance. It's interesting you bring distance into the equation, because later on, you talk about distance. When you feel you're close enough to strike, you have to remind yourself, so is your opponent. Okay, that's if it's equal in height and everything else. So the specialized knowledge there and the truth that you talk about was reaffirmed by Mr. Lee. And I know you had a good influence with him and you spent quality time with him. Did he learn truth?
Yes, he did. And the truth he learned was the only truth he needed to learn, his own truth. That's all we're all doing. Everybody's living their truth. Now, to other people, it may not be their truth. But the important thing is that you find out your truth, and your truth is to be honest to yourself first, to have personal integrity. And from that truth, everything else will work out fine. But yes, know thyself, that expression is finding out the truth of who you are. For that is most important, yes.
Let's go to truth then. Okay, we have a lot of people that discuss their perspective of the martial arts and what is proper and aspect. In your chapter 2, you talk about physical preparations. Why do we not spend enough time on that? And I'll let you define the preparations, but there's more than just stretching and whatnot. What is your understanding?
Yeah, the physical preparation is, I say that, but what I really mean is mental preparation. I'm not talking about your physical body. I'm talking about developing a mindset that whatever you choose to develop physically, your body, that will be the effortless part. The difficult part, again, is the truth, and that is know yourself. How can you even start to develop the best aspects of who you are if you don't have any clue about who you are? Who you are is not your physical body. Who you are is your personal integrity. It's your belief system. It's your truth. It's your honesty. It's your integrity. It's your honor. It's these qualities that define you. So why are you wasting time trying to learn a technique? The quality of your technique will be equal to your belief. If you're lying to yourself, if you don't have personal integrity, if you're not an honorable person, why do you expect that the quality of your technique will have honor, integrity, truth? It can't have it. It can't have it if you don't have it.
Okay.
Now, finding yours is your unique opportunity in your life. What is my truth? Now, I don't mean it in an arrogant sense, but yes, your truth is your life. You are the most important person in your life. Now, I'm going to say this. I may cause controversy, but what can I say? For me in my life, not in an arrogant, conceited way, but in a realistic, objective way, I am the most important person in my life. Not my wife, not my children, not anybody else. Without me, I don't exist. Without me being my best, not doing my best, being at the highest place I can be. How can I serve the people I love? My wife, my children, my family, my relatives, my friends. How can I do that if I don't have the quality that it takes? So why am I worried about what other people think and feel about me? That's my arrogant attitude, and that's my perceived idea about who I think I am. Why? Because you don't know you. If you did, you wouldn't be worried about what other people really think. That you walk your own path. And to do that, you must know, what path am I? Not what path am I on. You are never on a path. You are the path. So we must have a clear intention and definition of what it is we're trying to do while we are physical. We are spending way too much time worrying only about the physical body, and yet you must know, I'm talking to you, you must know at the end of this physical life, you are going to die. That's the result. That's the outcome of your life. Do you know that?
Oh yes, I think, but I will not. My energy will go on, because as I came here as energy.
Yes, but your energy, I understand. Your energy is non-physical energy.
Right.
That energy has no use to you after you are dead. But this wonderful power that exists as an aspect of you, not a physical aspect, why not use that power that you now tell me is going to continue beyond my physical life? Then why not use it? Why not reconnect with that force, that energy, and why are you still stuck in your brain? I don't get it. I don't get it. And people are always amazed. Well, why do I keep making the same mistakes over and over, Mr. Stone? I'm not stupid. But the idea of insanity, if you talk to Albert Einstein, if you make a choice that continually gives you the same result, you may not be stupid, but you probably are insane.
Yes.
So why would you consciously, knowingly choose to repeat something that you already know the outcome? If I have a t-shirt that I know will never fit me because it's extra small, am I going to even attempt to put it on to see if it fits? If what I'm doing in my life, if the experiences that I'm having, that I am creating my experiences, if I know in advance it won't work out right, do I still choose to make that choice and decision? And do I still have the experience? And after having it, slap myself in the head and say, what the hell did I choose that again?
Because you're insane.
Didn't you know?
That's why.
Yes. Didn't you know that was going to be the outcome, result, and consequences of your choice?
I hope not. I would think
that.
If I have a conversation with you, I don't think I'm going to repeat the same mistake. I'm going to know. I'm going to say, I think Mr. Stone would appreciate if I would not be insane and start figuring this one out. I also love Einstein's quote.
Well, listen, Paul. Paul, there are no mistakes in life. There are none.
Choices. Yes.
There's no right and wrong in life.
Yes.
You make choices. Yeah. There are results, outcomes, and consequences. If whatever choice you chose to experience didn't work out the way you preferred, you can simply choose again.
That's the beautiful thing about the power of now. Because the power of now is now we have the time to choose right now at this moment. Correct?
More importantly than that, the choice you make, you can now live that idea in the present moment.
And you will be then. That's
you are. Once you choose that state of mind, you are that. You're not becoming it. Becoming something means you're not it now. Yes. But if you are an idea of yourself now, in the present moment, there's nothing you need to become. I already am who I am. I am living my truth.
Thus, the mindset of a champion. So you have to choose in the moment to be that which you will be.
Because we are all choosing. We have only two gifts when we come to this earth: life and free will to choose. That's the only gifts we have. Everything else in life is up to us. If we don't like the results, we can choose again. We have unlimited opportunities to make another choice. And you can make that choice again, instantaneously, in the moment you exist. If I choose something that doesn't work right now, in the very next moment, I can make another choice. Why am I waiting 3, 4, 5, 6 months? Why am I beating up myself? Why am I disassociating with friends? Why am I depressed? Why am I upset? What am I doing with my life? I can change the moment I'm in.
So let's go to something that I had talked to you before we came on. And how has the art changed from when you came into the martial arts to today? And I'd like to discuss your chapter 3, Because it's old school basics is what you say. Old school basics. Talk about that.
The art has not changed. People have. People have made different choices. They've made personal choices. And by doing that, they express their art differently. The art is the art. It will always be the art. Are you living that art? Are you perfecting that art? So the art has never changed. Art is art. It is like non-physical energy. It exists perfect unto itself. People that choose how they want to express the art, they have changed.
So if the art is perfect, how can we tap in or pursue that art in its perfection?
Be one with it. Be equal to that frequency of energy. We can do that. I've done it several times in my life that it would be considered a miracle, but now I understand how I can do that. And now it is common for me. I can attract everything I want into my life. I am not a wealthy man, but if I need money, I can create money. I can create it. I can attract it into my life. Like I've attracted everything else into my life, negative and positive. So I am the one that will determine and decide that what I attract into my life, whether it'll be good or bad. Do I prefer it or not prefer it? Am I going to harmonize and be equal to that vibrational frequency, to be equal to it? Or am I going to be less than that and keep trying to be better?
I understand where you're coming from with that. How does the martial artist, a young martial artist, or it could be the experienced martial artist too, tap into that, realize that they can be that, the best that they can be in the moment? Does that, you address that in basics by saying you felt there's been a decrease in the quality of the output of the martial arts talent in recent years, a direct result of not stressing good, strong basics. Is that the foundation for the martial arts?
Yes, that is the physical foundation of the martial arts. When I talk about basics, I'm not talking about physical basics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about state of mind basics. I'm talking about intention, integrity. That is basics. Before you even execute physical basics, this foundation of discipline, that attitude, that is what needs to be set before you even go out and try anything physical.
The problem I'm going to see is if I'm working on that for myself and I walk into a school and the instruction there is not on that same understanding of the mindset.
Walk out. Turn around and walk out. You know, again, my friend, listen. When you walk in, you're looking in one direction, I assume. Is that correct? When you walk in the dojo, you reach down, you grab the door, you open, you're walking in, you're looking that way. You're looking in the wrong direction. Everywhere in our life, when we look outside of ourselves, we're looking in the wrong direction. We should never be looking there. We should be looking inside, inward, with this eye, not with these two physical eyes. These two physical eyes are only going to show you a reflection of who you already are. And you don't like what you see. You want to change it. So you're looking in the wrong direction.
Okay, but we're not all, the problem I see is that the person is trying to find that. So he looks within himself to find this direction. But he's walking into a school that he has no understanding of. And you say, go to another school?
No, don't even bother going to that school. Just pay attention to yourself. You can find all you want. Not everything you want to know about martial arts, you will find in a karate school. You can find martial arts in nature. You don't even need another human being to find this aspect of who you are. but you can find everything you want to need to know about you within you. So you're not going to find it looking elsewhere. You're not going to find it comparing yourself with other people, whether it's size, speed, ability, gift, experience. You're not going to find it. But that's what everybody's doing. They keep looking outside of themselves, comparing themselves, and think that they're going to find, and they don't find. When they don't find, it's called expectations. You produce unhappiness and disappointment. That's what you find.
Well, I would think that as a child, I don't understand how to, well, I do understand. I can't say that. How does one learn to speak then the martial arts if he's never spoken the martial arts?
What is martial arts, my friend?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to give us a more wider approach to this, but in their understanding.
But that's the problem. But that's the problem. We're giving them too wide of a scope to interpret it, what that is. You are martial arts. That's what you want to learn. So let's limit it to you.
Okay. I walked into into 3 different schools when I was coming up. I was in 16 years old. I went into a Shotokan school. I went into a Taekwondo school. I had seen at the Y. I went to the Y, and I was taking some judo for a little bit. And I thought, man, this is not working for me. It just doesn't feel comfortable. Then I found a Kempo school, and I walked in there, and I felt instantly something I really liked. And then I found out about Ed Parker, and then I went to Pasadena. So that was my journey. And when I was over there, that's how I learned Frank Trejo and about Ed Parker. And it filled a void in me, or at least I felt that I was going to become, I could see myself doing this. And so I envisioned it from the day I walked in, what my goal was to be, and I did that every day. I saw that. I didn't see conflict. It flowed for me very easily. I saw somebody do a technique, I could do the technique. I saw somebody spar, well, maybe I got punched once or twice the first time, and that was it. I realized how to defend myself and to avoid that. When it came to katas, I had instruction from Frank Trejo, and he guided me to be the best that I could be. So that was my journey. And today, here it is 40 years later. Actually, it's March 21st, 1981 is when I tested for black belt in front of Ed Parker. And as soon as that day happened, I knew that was the beginning of a new journey for me. And I could learn more about my journey on every day that I traveled, seeing what I could see, being what I was going to be.
Is there a question?
Well, no, that's explained because you asked me about myself. So that is how I found my journey. And so that's what I'm trying to say. Sometimes a student will walk in and they didn't have this guidance, or they were taught differently on doing versus being, as we discussed.
But Paul, you answered your very own question. You answered your own question. When you said I walked into the school, this Shotokan school, I didn't feel comfortable. It wasn't for me. I went to Kempo. I immediately had an attraction. So what you're saying, Paul, is that you allowed yourself to dictate and know within yourself what you felt comfortable like, who you felt comfortable around. So you made those choices. So in order to do that, you had to look within yourself to even determine this energy I am perceiving in Kempo is what I am attracting and gravitating to. So you are doing it automatically. So it wasn't the system, it wasn't that, it was whatever it was that you chose to decide. This is the me that I'm attracting, I feel comfortable expressing. So it was still you still decided. So you answered your own question. You're not going to find it. I said the same thing. You're not going to find anything in your life outside of you. When you do, you will think you are finding it outside. That is your illusion of how you believe to feel you need to learn. You need to learn from somebody else, something showing me. It must be outside of me. So you look around finding, what is it can I identify with? What can I vibrate equal to that will give me a slight indication? Ah, this is me, Kenpo. I like this. You're doing it. You did it yourself. You must trust yourself, your truth. We go back to this again. Trust your own truth in knowing already. Listen, you have wisdom beyond your current comprehension. You are powerful beyond measure. Now, you can achieve anything you want to in your life now. You simply don't believe it. You believe I need to find somebody to help me get to where I want to go. Why? Because I don't know where. I don't even know who I really am. But yet, if you just listen to yourself express, you saw when I walked in, there was something about that I liked. What does that tell you, what you just said? I vibrated equal to the energy they were expressing. I was attracted to that. I was not to Shotokan. Can you explain why? No, I just, that's how I felt. Well, trust your feelings a lot more. Don't trust your visual sight so much more.
I will share with you something that's martial arts, but not martial arts. And
no, this
that,
all martial arts.
But for the people that are listening, they don't quite
No,
know.
let's give them credit and uplift them to our level of understanding, whatever level that is.
Okay, so my father was a 7-time state champion in classical singing, and he could never understand why I sang popular music. And I said, well, Dad, it was not my palate. I didn't like it because I never had experience in when Dad would listen to the classical music. But as I've got older, I appreciate what it is and the basis of it. So I started to play an instrument. Do you play an instrument, sir? Do you play any instruments?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I got lucky. I started off with a trumpet.
Why didn't you ask me what instrument I played?
I figured you would tell me. Please tell me, what instruments do you play? Which ones do you play? Oh, you play you. Ah, yes. Okay. Well, there you go. You just gave me the answer. Here's the thing. I started with the trumpet, but it was a really bad instrument to take to parties when you're in high school to meet girls. It doesn't work because there's something in your mouth and they don't want to hear that. So anyway, my brother at the same time was given an acoustic guitar. So I traded with him. I said, hey, he goes, I don't want to do the trumpet either, so you can have the guitar. So I found that if you could hum and strum a little bit, it sort of worked. And needless to say, I taught myself how to play that instrument. And anytime I doubted myself, I would say, well, if I pick up this book or this magazine or something like that, it'll give me instant gratification. But every time I did that, it didn't work. It didn't work for me. And so what I did was I just got creative and said, listen, I know how to do this. And that's how, to this day, pretty much self-taught myself how to play a guitar, a piano, a ukulele. I actually played Mr. Parker's ukulele and at the celebration of the 85th anniversary of his birthday, and drums and other things. In other words, it goes back to what you said. I was in the right frequency right there with that being myself, with that instrument as one. And I got to tell you, at times, it is almost magical to refer to what you're saying. I was in that moment and I thought, oh Lord, it's right there. It was perfect. There was no bad notes. It was all flowing, and you could watch people that were listening. You could see them go, wow, you moved them, because we all were in that same moment, feeling that same energy together.
Absolutely.
And that is, and so, I watched a video on you doing kata, and most people don't understand that you were actually one of the most premier champions in kata. I mean, your katas were incredible, and I can see why. That was that perfect moment of the flow of you as you go through. And that's something that numerous seniors have said to me, boy, you should watch it. So I did find that a few times. How does we go into your book and I get into it. I already talked about your basics and things like that. And you used the reference, the basics of being you, or in the case of me. And we get on to other areas. People worry about it. You have some notes in there on in self-defense in chapter 5. You talk about eliminating the problem, which was fear. And you talk about the psychological versus the physical. And, I think reputation and time. And then you also said there's a false sense of confidence. We already addressed those issues. How does one really drive home the self-confidence when it comes self-defense? I guess we learn lessons of how to do a technique, but really, isn't it better to just learn the basics and flow?
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I hate to sound redundant, but I will. It's still getting back to who are you? Know yourself. Be truthful with who you are. So that is the basic premise. Everything you will ever choose to express in your life, everything has to come from somewhere. And the somewhere is deep within you. If you don't know this place, if you're not familiar with deep within you, there are going to be issues. That's the issues you're going to have to try and figure out. How can I solve this? How can I get this? No, if you take care of this, if you know who you are, if you're honest and truthful, if you respect, honor, and love yourself in a healthy way, you will never have issues. These things will take care of themselves. The problem with most people is they're looking around to find solutions. This is their big thing. I have health situations. I have financial situations. I have relationship situations. And you go around, what is my solution, Mike? How can you help me? I don't know what to do. So if I give you enough time and just have you talk about yourself, you're going to realize, Mike, is it true that I'm the problem? Well, thank you very much. Yeah. If I said that right away, you'd say, of course not. I'm not the problem. What are you talking about? It's not my fault. It's their fault. How dare they talk to me like that? Who do they think I am? I don't know. Who do you think you are?
Mhm.
So it has to start with this.
Yeah, it's
Everything
interesting.
I'm
No, that's
sorry.
very interesting. No, that's very strong and very interesting because we are the last person to blame. It's ourselves.
Yes.
It's quite obvious. You go in, you said solutions. In a Kempo school, when I would be in Pasadena, obviously we would learn self-defense techniques. And we all like to say, let's do the dance routine of 5 swords or thundering hammers, asleep, or whatever technique. And then I remember one time I had a conversation with Ed Parker. And there were several people with me. And I said, Mr. Parker, do you ever think you would do 5 swords on the street? He looked at me and said, no. And I said, oh. He said, those are just exercises, Paul, to make you think. You'll flow. You will react to the situation the way you're supposed to. And for you to force the issue is like taking the round peg and put it in the square hole. It ain't going to work. And you're going to be fighting that all the way. So I have a feeling that when we get to the discussion talking to you about sparring, the way you analyze it in chapter 6, and I keep on referring to this book. I know that you probably have other books, and maybe we should actually address that right now. How many other books have you written, sir, that deal with martial arts training?
Well, with martial arts training, all of the books I've written have martial arts training,
Right.
but none of them have. They're all about life.
Yes, I see that.
So it's all about life. It's all about you. With that, choose how you wish to express that physically, and it will be okay. So you're not limited to the martial arts. You're not limited to self-defense. You're not limited to this. It is our perception and our own self-denial, untruth, and limited perceptions of ourselves that will not allow us to be everything we can be. This idea called potential, it is so much crap. Everybody, oh, potential, potential. Potential is like me getting out here in my canoe, going out on the thing, look at the horizon. I don't know how far it is. They say it's about approximately 8 miles from where you actually are located. But the farther I go, if I go out in the South China Sea, the farther I paddle out, the horizon doesn't change. It keeps stretching out also. So what is potential? Potential is this idea, unlimited possibilities. That's what potential is. That's what potential is. But never mind then about potential. Let me take care of myself now. In the present moment I exist, what do I want to accomplish? What information do I need that I can apply in this moment that will allow me to live the life I prefer? Take that phrase, mount it somewhere, and this is what you look at. What can I do presently in my life, in this moment, that will allow me to be the best I could be? Not better than, we're not comparing, we're not competing, not that for me, can I be my best, not do my best? Can I be my best now? By being, I now change all the physical possibilities to conform to my reality. Now I can be anything I choose. When? Now, in the moment I exist. I can become equal to that idea. It's this disassociation. It is this forgetting of who we are, not appreciating, not being grateful for life and free will to choose, and not using that to the maximum, not making a choice, find out it does not work. I am not getting the results I prefer, but I continue to choose that next week again. What am I doing? Why haven't I learned the gift of life? If it doesn't work, I'm only into application, and application for me is only in the present moment I exist. Application is only now. If I can't apply it now, then it will not influence my life in the way I want it to. Where I am is the most important place I can be. Otherwise, why am I here? I'm not here 2 seconds before or 5 minutes later. 5 minutes later, I will be there now too. I will wait for that. But in this moment I am. Can I be my best in this moment? No, that one is just past. What about this moment? Can I be my best now? Yeah, but that's just finished. Excuse me. What about this moment? Can you be focused? Do you have the personal integrity to live in the moment you exist? To apply your knowledge, your wisdom, whatever you want to apply? Can I get the results I want? That I prefer to live now, not maybe sometime in the future if I suffer, sacrifice, if I worked hard, if I do all these fantastic things. You may never get there, my friend. We don't know the future, but we know now, and that's where you should be living.
Are we more concerned with the destination rather than the journey?
Well, you want to answer that for us?
Yeah, I already know that, but I think the use
you
of the word.
You thought I didn't know it?
No, I'm just throwing that out there. Sir, there's nothing I'm going to confuse you on. All righty. I just sometimes throw it. I'll just throw out something to see if, if I'm just testing the waters there with you.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I do love you have a good sense of humor about this. I think the use of the word potential is a bad word. The potential is now. It is not the future. You reference it. We use a term and say he has so much potential. What do you mean by that? I mean, he's right here now. Make it right now, and therefore you will say, oh my God, this guy's great. Look what he's doing now. And I find it really difficult when people want to talk about their past. If you reference the past to influence the moment now to make yourself the best you are being now, then there is no need to talk about the past. It's irrelevant. And as you said in our previous interview, The future hasn't been determined yet because you have no control over that. It is the moment. Now you can talk. Gee, what
Well,
else
I
do
do
that
have
next year?
control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. I do have control of the future because I am creating my future from the present moment I exist. So in this moment I am living, I am actually creating the next moment of my life. But if I extend myself beyond the present reality of where I exist, then I don't exist 5 years from now, 6 months from now, 2 days from now. I don't exist there. I exist here. So shall I wait for 2 days, 6 months, 7 months to create a future I want? Or why not bring my future into my present where I actually am, I can control, I can create from this moment? Why do I have to wait for the future? Why do I have to worry about the past? It's done. So in the present moment you exist, you are creating your past and your future from the present moment. This is where you're creating your future now. So what now do you want to live in your future? Why not live that now where you actually exist?
Exactly. You mean live the future now.
Of course.
That's what you're really driving. Okay. Because everybody has this pipe dream. Well, I'll do this next year, or I'll do that, or when I get this, I'll be able to do, instead of why not,
Doesn't
as you
work.
said, it's poor. That's so self-defeating. I
Yes.
don't understand. I mean, where is the productivity? Where's the positive message? You're still thinking you're living in fear. Well, I think I'll be able to do that someday. I hear that all the time, and that's really excuses for what they're saying. Let's talk about sparring, and we've been sparring all night, talking about certain things here. I love how you say when you get in there and you talk about the whole process, you say to people, it's very important for you to feel free with the techniques for you to execute, and you need to be relaxed, not lazy. Those lessons there relate to right now anyway in life. If you think about it, well, I'm thinking about it. At least you got me inspired to think about it now. That if you think about that, to act freely, to be in one with yourself, so that it will naturally flow from you. So I remember talking with Steve Muhammad, and a wonderful man. I really enjoy the conversations we've had. And he would say when he was sparring, he said, I just felt with the mind sight. He said, I didn't use my eyes. My brain, it went into there and I could see it. This is his terms. It was like what you said in chapter 1, the mindset. There's a difference between the mind and the brain. And when he was sparring, he could just flow. He could see the movements of how to counter and to act. You're well known for doing that, but I love the idea that the difference is that he was counter punching for most of his discussion. With you, you're right out of the box. You say the initial blast. I like that. You go right at it because you don't score points playing defense. You can, but you score when you put the ball in the hoop or you cross the goal, or in your case with Bob White, you hit the tennis ball and he can't get to it, and you score the point. So
Or
the
in
initiate.
sparring, you simply punch him in the mouth.
Is that how it works? Okay.
Yeah, it's that simple. I know where my fist is. I know where his mouth is. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. Punch him in the mouth.
I love how you also analyze in here how when you're at a tournament, and this could also be related to other things in life. You're in the moment, you're watching, you see the future. I'm going to be the champion. It was a great example in the first discussion. You wanted to see the trophies. You wanted to see, and you saw yourself winning those trophies. I can do that because you believed and you knew in the moment that that was going to happen. You took your future and you brought it into the present. Your analysis in here is that you'll sit there and you'll look at the other opponents. You'll see what kind of techniques they use. Okay. You also analyze the things that they were creatures of habit of doing. I love this. This was really important. You're extremely talented, okay? You know how to move. You're an athlete. You're also a thinking athlete. Mr. Parker really appreciated the thinking martial artist, not just some guy that do the jock and told, do the punch, do the kick, whatever. You're thinking. You also watch the officials to see how they will rule. This guy he scores punches more. This guy scores kicks more. So if that was what you were doing, you made sure you could play to their strengths when you needed to. Again, taking your talent and making what you saw and brought it. It was incredibly insightful as a suggestion for the young martial artists to understand, because most of them walk in there and they don't have a clue. And I think if they would adhere to some of these lessons that you've shared tonight, this might help them in just not only in their martial arts journey, but also in their personal journey. Your thoughts?
Well, in the ring, in relationship to officials, it's spatial reference. So the men sitting down are sitting in positions. The head referee is the only one can move around. So as I move and as I change from either right to left stance or left to right stance, I will fight someone the way they want me to fight them so I can beat them. You got to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I will move the way they want me and hope I would move so that they would be advantageous. So I will do what they want me to, only to defeat them that way. I will make it easy for them. I will give them what they want to see. When they get into a particular, after they bow, they get left foot forward. I already know what their limitations are. When they turn right side, when I start to move and I move and the head referee moves with us, I want to make sure I have a point that all two corner judges and the head referee, 3 people of the 5 are watching what I attack. I never give my front side of the body. I never give any target areas for them to visualize. So when I turn with my back to the corner officials and the head referee. So he cannot possibly call a legitimate point because he can't see me get hit. But my opponent's facing his target areas to the 3 officials. No matter what I do, even if I miss, they will throw the flag up. So all of these simple little things is about using spatial reference, understanding my relationship with the objects, with my opponent, with the head referee, with the corner judges. I will use that to my advantage. And that's very easy to do because I'm not the one calling points. The referees and judges call points.
Yeah, but
So
you're creating the points. That's the thing. You're creating the points because you saw what you wanted and you imprinted it. You said, in the moment, I'm going to be this. I'm going to create these points and they're going to recognize it. Correct?
Okay, all I'm doing, Paul, is I'm creating an opportunity to score points that heavily influence my side, that percentage-wise. The opportunities I create by using visual distance and perception, using body positioning, using thought, intention, integrity, aggressiveness, using these things to my advantage. The first person that moves is what most people's eye will catch, so they will follow what that move is. So why am I going to be a counter puncher?
Mm-hmm.
That's the second move. So why not be explosive and hit first?
That's what you call.
When I was first learning how to box, the boxing coach said this: hit hardest, first, fastest, and run like hell.
I doubt very much Mr. Stone runs like hell. You know what? The only way he's running over him and say, okay,
why
you give
run
up?
Why run when the guy's on the ground?
Exactly. I mean, you're going to be, there's no doubt. I mean, I have to say, for those that have been fortunate, and with this modern technology, I suggest people take a moment, Google Mike Stone. You will watch him, and you better push the button into the slow mode because, sir, you are extremely fast. That camera doesn't even catch. I had to ask you about that when you hit the man on Wild World of Sports. with the ridge hand. I guess that only because of your book. You're, and several people said, that ridge hand, that hook kick, and that rear cross, when he came in, bam, the guy had no chance. You were like a steamroller coming, just crushing them.
Well, Paul, that's not really accurate. He did have a chance. It was just slim and none. So he had two options.
Well, you know what? He wishes he had those options back, I think. The one guy you knocked him flat out. What are you talking about? He was like, okay. And then as we talked about that, they had to stop you being on TV for that for some time. I mean, your
10 years.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Your reputation, numerous people, truly important people in the martial arts community in all walks of life that I've talked to, whenever I've shared your name, are you talking about the real Mike Stone? Yeah. I said, yeah, absolutely. I had a conversation you should watch. Wow. I mean, that guy, he set the bar and nobody wanted to face you. Well, they tried, I think. I bet there's some memorable, we'll discuss that later at a different, in the third part of our discussion. I just want to lay out as much of the foundation and really the discussions about the martial arts in your book and karate and fighting and whatnot. Those are really just a term that just on that part, but really these lessons that you've been sharing with us tonight are, they're more important because it's about life. It's about life.
Well, here's the thing that's I appreciate you saying that, Paul. But here's the thing, that the reason I'm saying it like this is I want the listeners to not so much appreciate what I'm saying, but to find out for themselves by simply applying this philosophy in their present state. Apply it and see if it doesn't work for you. And if it doesn't, then use it as an opportunity to be more honest, if there's such a thing as more honest than being honest. But
is that like being very, very fast?
I'm sorry.
Or speedy fast? Or fast
Yeah.
and speedy? It's like, okay. I never understand those words, but okay.
Yeah, but it's just everything I said that sounded futuristic or new age thinking or way out philosophy and stuff like that. It is not. This has been around as long as man has been around. They have simply chosen to forget who they are, how powerful they really are, and that they can express their uniqueness in the present moment they exist, which would actually be the best place, the best location to do that is where you are, not the best time, but wherever you are, regardless of the time, be yourself in that moment. And when you do that, you're honest with yourself, then things are going to change and you're going to act as if they are remarkable. Like, oh my God, I tried this. And you know what happened? It's supposed to work if you apply it this way.
Sometimes we use the term surreal. Yes. Sometimes the word surreal comes in. It's a euphoric feeling that this is so, it seems foreign to us because we're not used to that moment that you're talking about it. And when we do have those moments, it's a reminder of where we really should be.
Yeah. But we have those moments, they're spaced apart much too far. We should bring those moments into the present moment we exist so we can experience it all the time. Be happy, be blissful, be respectful, be loving, be caring. These ideas, bring it into your present life. And if it is already a part of you, then it's very easy to share. It's not something you have to think about becoming. Being loving, generous, patient, that is who I am. So there's no effort in being who you are. You're being who you are anyway, right now, no matter what you perceive yourself to be, it's already your creation. If you don't prefer the way you have chosen to be at times, simply change that. You have free will to change at any moment you exist, to express another reality. And in that moment, you can become that idea
You were in
instantaneously.
competition and you put yourself in the moment, bringing your future to that present moment. Was it euphoric for you?
I'm sorry?
Was it euphoric for you?
No, it was natural. I felt nothing in a sense because everything was neutral. You know, when you're equilibrium, when you are at a status position that you're not generating any drag, that there's no effort, there's no energy. People misunderstand that their point of power is the point that they feel they are stagnant. People feel like, I don't know what to do right now. I'm in a confusing time in my life. I don't know in which direction to move in your life. And you mistake that for weakness. But in truth, it is your most powerful time in your life because you can move in any direction you want effortlessly. There is nothing to inhibit you from taking a step in any, you are free, totally free. There's no resistance. The resistance is your idea that you are stuck.
Would you repeat just the key word? Because in your book, you said, how many years ago did you write this book, Mike?
I'm sorry?
How many years ago did you write this book?
I have a long time, maybe 50 years.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you exactly the lesson you just said right now is laid out in chapter 6 on, excuse me, got to do this. Page 144. It lays it out there to feel free, to feel free. It's not forced, it's natural.
Yes.
It's laid out there. I mean, my goodness, you lay it out. You also give out things like the initial blast. I'm guessing from that is that when you know what you're supposed to do and you're in the moment, you do it. You don't question it. You do it because it's what is you're supposed to do. Okay,
Yes.
which
But
if
when
you're
when you question your
it's out the
movement,
door.
then you're already creating the resistance that won't allow you to do it naturally and freely. If you are an expression of yourself, being that idea takes no thinking. This is another thing, another fallacy we have. We end up thinking too much. We end up getting caught up in our own thoughts, and that trap and that being stuck and that limitation and that is our problem. We are trying to think too much about, we're not being, we're trying to do. This is no good. You're not going to accomplish anything.
Well, you lay it out. I mean, honestly, folks, what is in this book is also being said by Mr. Stone right now through the thoughts of execution and commitment. I mean, you don't hesitate in it. You're in the presence.
Yes.
You know, and then obviously all the other factors that are going to influence you are being removed. Don't work
Yes.
so hard at it is what you're basically telling me.
Yes,
Should be.
that's the other reason. Let me go back to you're talking about Mr. Parker when you asked him, "Can you do the 5 swords in the street?" And he said he almost laughed at you, like, "Are you kidding? Am I going to do a structured routine? Is the guy going to be exactly in the right position for me to do 3, 4, 5? Of course not. So what do I have to do? Well, I have to have enough wisdom. I have to have enough training, enough experience, enough. I must know myself enough that in any given situation, I will come up with the right technique. What is the right technique? Well, I don't know. Attack me and we'll see what the right technique
I was going to say the result that you walk away.
Yeah, the
I
result,
guess.
yes. Yes.
That's all that
I don't have
matters.
time to think about it. In fact, I may be even awed at my own performance, which I have been many times to go, holy shit, did I do that?
Oh, yeah, I bet.
I don't remember doing it.
And here's the thing. The opponent said the same thing. Holy shit. Did he really do that to me? and the people at the
sent
peanut
him a note
galleries are
before.
saying, they're going,
Yeah.
holy, he did do that.
Yeah.
A little humor here.
Or they say, I can't believe he did that.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I mean, one of the talents that you have that we haven't talked this time about is your ability that you set a world record, how high you can jump and do that jumping kick. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think your friend Bruce Lee said it, self-expression is very difficult to achieve. Self-expression.
No, actually, it's not.
I know you're saying that, but he was saying
If he
that.
said that, yeah, if he said that, then of course he can believe what he wants and say what he wants. But my experience is it's not true. Expressing yourself when you know who you are is effortless. Effortless.
Did you ever have that conversation with him?
Yes, we thought. In fact, a lot of that's one of the things if people were to know, well, see, it would be unfair for me to say something that Bruce is not here to either dispute it or make any comments about it.
But you can also give it your personal
But I
opinion
know
how it
Bruce
influenced
learned.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I know personally that Bruce learned as much from me than I ever did from him. And that's why our sessions were never about physical things after the first one. Because it was about Bruce at that time in Bruce's life as well. Please understand, he was a man also searching for himself. He was also trying to discover. He was even trying to create a new system, Jeet Kune Do. So he was at a creative part in his life where he was trying to tell to everybody, don't get caught up in the systems that already exist. They're bullshit. Create your own system. Be free. He didn't realize that in the process of creating himself, he created a system. So you end up doing a system anyway. But the idea was good. The idea was don't get caught up in creating habitual thoughts. Don't get caught up in the memory of your physical body. Don't get caught up in that. Be free. Not know what you're going to do is the greatest knowing of yourself. To not know what you're going to do is the greatest knowledge you have of yourself. Not to know, but to be that idea.
Wow, that's pretty deep. You know, and I would think that he was trying to find himself as he had come from a back. Yeah, you know, and obviously spending, I don't know how much time he actually spent in combat. I mean, forget the television and the movie business part. That's the public side that, you know, which we recognize. I get that. You know, that's the form that we entertain ourselves with, and it's important. I mean, he obviously took the level of the martial arts movies to a heightened level that of realism as best he could, and also making it real. You know, not all this acrobatic sticking wires on somebody and flying them through the air like Peter Pan. He really wanted to see that. In my conversation with Bob Wall, Bob said when he was working with Bruce, he said the fight scenes that they engaged in, said he had no experience in that initially, Bob. And he said, I was learning filmography style of choreographing a fight. And they would work on it and just till it flowed evenly. But the number one key element that Bob emphasized to me, and I think this resonates with what you're saying, so people listening to this can get this. Just because you see a famous person do something, remember there has to be an element of truth, as I quoted him earlier in the thing. Bob said Lee wanted to make it real. Make it real. Now, when he filmed those movies with Bob Wall and Chuck Norris and all that, was early 70s. So this was years after your first initial meeting. So I would think that in the time that he spent with you, and I forget the working out, but the discussion, the exchange of ideas and thoughts, that you really elevated the game from your perspective, like you were sharing with me. And what I take from it, I'm going to guess that he did the same thing with you, and therefore he brought it back into himself, how he could be in that moment. Am I close to that?
Yes, absolutely. Because we both at that time were exploring ourselves. So he did it in his way, I did it in mine. Now, again, I don't have the book, so I don't know when I actually wrote it. But the writing of the book, the information was already applied when I was only 18, 19 years old. So the application of this information was already something I wrote about later, but I had already applied, and in applying it, received the success and the recognition that I got. So I was already applying those philosophies that allowed me to become a champion already. When I already met Bruce in 1964, that was my first black belt tournament at the Ed Parker's Internationals. So the application or that philosophy that I already had as a mindset, I was already applying and demonstrating and doing and believing that this is who I am. And I know Bruce recognized that in me. And maybe some of the things he saw in me that he liked was some of the things that he took from that, because he was also at the same time discovering who he was, finding out his truth. All of these ideas were happening simultaneously. But again, in writing the book, I was already applying it. I had already applied it successfully before I met him.
That was actually, that book was written 20 years after you first met, 1984.
Oh, okay.
And you can see how you evolved. I think the thing that probably attracted him and any other person that has seen you that did not either know you but did learn about you, or those that were fellow competitors or people that you had interaction with in the martial arts at tournaments and such, realized that you were the real deal. I mean, that's the strongest sense I feel in talking to you. There is nothing but real there. It is somebody that is fully in control of his life. As he sees it, he's perceiving it. He executes it the way he would execute his technique in a ring, in a competition. And the barriers of fear and negativity and any of those things that most people, I would say 95% of the people out there adhere to, do not exist in Mike Stone's life. Am I correct?
Yes, of course. Why would I want that to be?
No, I'm saying I'm saying that because it's a beacon, like in a storm, the rest of the world. I see those energies like Bruce Lee and anybody else that you had conversations with, the people that draw that are driven to find that same path, have realized it, and you've guided them, helping them. They saw that in you, and you can see that in his nature when he started in 1964 till he died in 72, 73. You can see the evolution of it. However, as you said, he did not want to create a system. What can I say? You had to put a term to it. We have to, these are glasses. Why we call them glasses? Now we call them glasses in English. I don't know what the word is in Spanish or German or Chinese, Cantonese or Latin, but you know what? Even a person that doesn't speak any language, that is without that, they can understand. If you show, they'll go, and they can use sign language to understand what this is. I think what you've done tonight in talking with us is giving us that, say, listen, I don't care what you say here. You have to understand this is where it is. And the power of now is obviously the most important lesson we can learn right now from it. And the second one is the gift of fear, how to eliminate that. And a lot of martial artists that compete in tournaments, and I admit to that myself, the first time I fought in a tournament and I was beaten, is because I was scared. I was scared because it's so foreign to me. Now, if you had taken me and put me in the school, I don't care who it was. I was a green belt at the time. I fight brown belts and black belts. I held my own because I was confident in that setting, but I was not in the moment. I was euphoric, or it was very natural for me to do things and to respond. However, when I was put out in a public situation, competition, I was not prepared because I did the worst thing. I had fear, Mr. Stone. I will admit to that to you. I had fear. I also had a lesson from Frank Trejo. If you ain't right here, Pablo, don't get in that ring because they're going to kick your ass. And basically, that same lesson is what you've been talking about all night long to me. And reaffirming in my mind, you have to be right here now. The mindset, not the brain. Don't worry about your hands. Don't worry about your feet. That will all respond naturally as it should. You'll see that and it will happen for you. Why? Because you're set right here. But if this isn't working right, I'm telling you right now, it's like a computer. If this computer doesn't work right, we got a problem. We're not going to be talking tonight.
Yep.
That'll disappoint a lot of people wanting to hear from you. So I'll tell you that right now. There's a lot of people already asking, when's the next one coming? It's coming. For you out there that are listening, you're going to love this. Okay. Like I said earlier, I'm going to finish up with one other facet of Mike Stone. Some people consider you to be the superstar, the pioneer, the first great martial artist to really set the standard in many ways. You talk about, life and about the mindset, and I call it the mindset of a champion. And we're just scratching this. This would take a lifetime, but with energy, when I'm done here, I'll probably meet you up in the other place, in that place where all the energy is going to go. And you can talk to me all you want then, and we'll flash. Well, it'll be great. It'll be a perfect moment with you, like I have with you now. You bring up something in your book. This is from, how many years ago? This is almost 38 years. It's 37 years ago this book was written. People don't know that how great you are at katas. You are at form. And now if there is sometime that you are in one, and I can relate to this, it's like when you're there in that moment of doing that kata and you feel it, you're in the moment right then. It is beautiful. It is effortless. It's perfect. You say that here, and you said I have invented many of my own forms and used them in competition. My own personal forms, folks. This talks about being you, not doing, but being, and you are being the best you possibly can in the moment. And as you said, I invented many of these forms, used them in competition, defeating champions such as Chuck Norris and Louis Delgado. Wow, that's your own person. You can't be better than that. Your personal expression, am I right?
Yeah. In fact, if we're on the topic, did I read you the poem I wrote about kata?
No, you haven't, and I think it would be a perfect time to do that.
Yeah, let me. I have my book here, but because sometimes people have a difficult idea in understanding kata and what it is, and of course, everybody has their own interpretation of the movement. So, but I wrote this many years ago. It says, kata has a proud tradition and long history. The expression of each movement is your unique personality. The essence of kata must communicate from the start your true understanding, which is spoken from the heart. In mastering your basics, kata helps you to this end, along with other benefits throughout life. It transcends. The value it offers will help to guide your life in overcoming obstacles and eliminating strife. Kata develops focus and strength internally, along with the powers of ki and integrity. It isn't just doing punches, blocks, and kicks. It solidifies the foundation without shortcuts or tricks. Kata is believability projected from inside. Its truth is only seen by minds opened wide. For kata has more to offer than most people comprehend. To receive its full value, you must persist to the very end. Kata is sometimes looked upon by people superficially. They don't understand or appreciate its depth of subtlety. Perfecting this graceful dance of death can take your whole life, like trying to understand the complex woman a man calls wife.
I will say only one thing. You can change that word from kata to life. It is the same. It is your moment. As you say, you should flow. You showed that you had focus. You have focus in life. You'll bring happiness to yourself. If you have strength, you'll bring happiness to your life because you'll have love. You have the chi, which is the inner strength telling you you're driven. And finally, the integrity is that you're being true to yourself, Mr. Stone. Truth as you speak through yourself, being yourself, not being something that is not you. Am I right?
Yes, I think so. That's my intention. Yeah.
And you know, that's how I saw it right now. That was so it was beautiful. When did you write that poem, by the way?
I wrote this quite some time ago. These were done even before that other book I wrote.
Okay. Are those books available to purchase?
Yeah, I have a book called The Poet, The Philosopher, The Observer, and what's the other one? I don't know. I think I have 4 books. It's on Amazon.com.
Okay, so that's it. So if we want to purchase any of these books, it would be really prudent to be in the moment now, if you watch this, to go on the computer, go to Amazon.com and look up Mike Stone author, and you'll find him and you'll find the books that are available, because I think you'll be enriched by having this. These are true expressions of your personal spirit. You're being in the moment. When you wrote that had to be in the moment. And you know, the nice thing is that I could be in a moment again with you right now by you reading that. Have you ever thought of doing an audio book?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because I think that would be outstanding.
A lot of people have asked if I would do that. Yeah.
I think it would be really rewarding, both for you and enriching for the listener, because not everybody. The problem is, I think it's a mistake to say that we don't have time. We do have time. It's just choices that we make. But if you have the choice and you have to go to work and you're driving your car, how wouldn't that be great to have this on, throw it in the old, the CD player, or if you have an MP3 player or whatever, you can hear this. And honestly, I think it would be more beneficial than listening to the news, or something else that's going to upset you. Let's face it, you want to be in the
positive.
Yeah, they resonate. They hit the core, your core values. And how did you ever get into writing poems? I'm just curious. I know you started once to say this, but let's revisit.
Yeah, when I was 42 and I first moved here, all of these ideas that I ended up writing into poetry were thoughts I already had while I was 19 years old, 20, when I was competing, when I was active. A lot of my philosophy was already established by a mindset. But writing the poems happened one afternoon when I was here at age 42, when I wanted to change the perception I had about myself. And many people that I grew up with all through elementary, high school, had believed about me. And that was the idea about I wasn't very bright, that I was just an athlete. So at age 42, I decided that what I could do to change that was to do something I never did before, or didn't have experience or knowledge or expertise or practice, and that is writing poetry. So at age 42, I sat down and wrote a poem called "What's the Problem?"
We
and
discussed
that Yeah, and that poem is what started me writing a lot of poems after that. But we talked about something just briefly. I'd like to, because actually we can go round and round in circle. Everything, every topic you can bring up to discuss, I can redirect you in almost the same energy field that will explain every aspect of our lives, whether it's personal relationships, romantic relationships, business relationships, everything, every aspect of who we are creating, who we perceive we are, every aspect of this, we already know this. We know this. We have simply forgotten who we are. We already know who we are. So many times when you ask a question, I will give you an opportunity to answer because I know in truth, you do have the answer to your question. Otherwise, you could not even think of those questions if you didn't already know the answer. Now, I know that sounds contradictory that, well, why would I really ask a question that I already know? Well, the problem is you don't remember you know. That's your problem. You don't remember that you're light and love. You don't remember this. You made a conscious choice to forget when you became human that you know everything you need to know. The spiritual aspect of you knows everything. There is nothing unknown to the spiritual part of who you are. The physical part has problems. You see, your physical part has chosen to forget that you know everything. And you had to forget so that you could choose experiences that you've never had before, as if you were having it for the very first time. But the truth is, every experience you will ever have, your soul already had that experience. So your soul accompanies you not in your physical body, it accompanies you throughout your earthly life simply as an observer of your choices, that you have free will to choose any experience you want to have while you live physically. In order to do that, you must forget that you are perfect, that you are light and love, that you know everything. You must forget that. So when you choose to have an experience in your earthly existence, it will be as if you are having it for the very first time. But the truth you find out quite rapidly is, why do I keep making the same mistakes over and over, even though I'm choosing it as if I am experiencing it for the very first time? You must forget that you are love to experience any other emotion other than love.
Yeah, you were brought in through
Yeah,
love. You know, actually, if I'm thinking about this and what we talked about earlier, you were complete when you came into this world.
absolutely. We all are.
And that was because it was formed through love and life.
Absolutely. We are light and love. That's the frequency
Yeah.
of creativity in the physical world. Absolutely.
Einstein calls it this: energy is never destroyed. It just changes form.
Yes, it can be transformed. Absolutely. Well, take someone I actually admire more than Einstein, and that is Nikola Tesla.
Okay.
Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets to the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything, everything in the universe vibrates at a particular frequency of energy. Everything. Your mind is one of the most powerful energy frequencies exist on earth. It is your thought vibration that creates all the physical reality we experience. Every bit of it comes from thought, human thought. So that's how powerful your thought is. Your thought, in only 3 simple steps, creates physical reality. First, it's the vibration of thought, the energy of thought. That is so powerful. Once you, step 2, express that idea, express your thoughts into the physical world, the energy is now released and has now the potential and opportunity to attract to it the equal frequency of your thought vibration. That means what I want to create, when I express it into the universe, I will now attract the energy that is equal to that into my life, creating physical reality at the second level. The third level is to do something about it. You must take action. So thought, expression, and doing. Those are the three steps in that order that you can produce, like I've produced a book. Everything, every physical thing that exists in this universe that is man-made, created first from human thought.
Do you have
Everything.
do you have other plans? I hope you do. I'm going to ask because I think there's people out there who will be listening. Do you have plans to continue on with your writings in the poems?
Of course.
That is poetry, though.
I'm doing it now all the
Okay.
time. I'm always writing.
Okay.
Always.
Because the
I have
poetry,
volumes of things I want to share.
well, you better hurry up and get that out there, sir, because there's people.
Well, I've
here.
done it already. It's a matter of getting it out there. And
Okay,
this is
'cause I
one
gotta tell
format
you,
we're using.
When you, I don't know what it is. It's sort of like you're listening to a beautiful melody when you hear the words being spoken of what you wrote, because they're true. They're the real, that is you. That's your expression. That is what we've been talking about. You know what, Mike, you're an amazing man. You have so much there. I hope you live for another 150 years.
I don't.
Well, I know you will go on to, but you will live on because of what you're doing tonight and what you
I
do
hope
with
so.
and what you do with your books, these books that you write, and the
Yeah.
poems that you express. Those are you. Those are perfect moments that can be created in the mind of the reader, the listener, or the viewer. And all
Yes.
three, they can see that. So again, I'm really grateful that we've spent this time together. It's been over 2 hours, and it just felt like a few seconds with you. And I know that part three, we'll see how that goes. I'm bringing your
Well,
friends
we'll
in
see.
on that one. I'll be on your side, but I don't think you need any help because everybody knows Mike Stone, the champion. You go in there and it's all business. Mike Stone, thank you. God bless you. You're an amazing person. I really, truly appreciate you spending quality time here with me. You've enlightened me, and I'm humbled.
An absolute joy. Thank you so much, Paul.
We'll be looking forward to talking to you. Salute, sir.
All right. Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.